So you're back.
I'm back.
The
Happy
the
to be here.
the world is a different place,
Mhm.
but for
Last
you
time.
specifically, you were really, really into competition this last year, like building towards major goals.
Absolutely. Oh,
So
yeah.
talk a little bit of like what that process is like going through preparing for like Nogi Pans, the
Mhm.
build up, and then what do you do that comes next?
Oh, man. It was a journey. It was a big journey. It's funny we're starting there. So, my journey as a competitor is I started jiu-jitsu at 20,
Right.
and it was just on the cusp of like, can we get to that level? So I'm in my athletic prime right now, and I don't have much time left, right?
Right.
So I'm right there. So my journey's a little different. Had I had started at the age of 5, it'd look a lot
Well,
different, but
how
it's
so
not.
how old are you right now?
I'm 34.
34. Okay.
Yeah. So 34, feeling great, feeling amazing. But yeah, in terms of like pans and this year specifically, I've actually always struggled on the competition mats and lots and lots of times of wanting to give up. Like to just cut because for me, I don't have to compete. I don't have to do any of this. I just
Right.
love it. I love what jujitsu does for me. I have a full-time job. I'm a personal trainer, nutritionist. I don't have to do this. But something in me compels me to do it because jujitsu is something that challenges me. And because I struggle being a competitor, that's an area in my life I can be better at.
Right.
And I believe firmly, even as a trainer and even now as a competitor, that all of the struggling I'm going through is one day going to help a ton of people because I'm going to be a way better coach than I ever was athlete. As bad as I want to be, an amazing athlete, and I will, and I am, and I know I'll be a better coach though. All that said, I do believe that we should all strive to reach our own unique human potential in our lifetime,
Mhm.
and that's why I strive to compete so much. Um, and so in terms of this year, I moved to Austin, Texas to train under the legendary John Danaher,
You're welcome.
who, yeah, you did. We were having lunch and you were like, Jordan, it's now or never. You were like, how old are you? And I think I was like 31 or
Yep.
32. And you were like, dude, it's now or never.
Yeah, I mean, for what you want to do and the position you were at, and you had the ability to go
Yeah.
do that. It's
So grateful.
and you talk about like treating it like I need to see how far I can get.
That's why.
Not everybody has that. Like not everybody has that. I don't have to do this, but I'm going to see how far I can go. I
Mm-hmm.
want to see what my limits are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know from the side of someone who like I have to perform at this level. Like when I was fighting professionally, like in MMA, like I have to win this because I gotta buy a crib for my kid that's coming.
Right.
Like I have to win this fight.
Yeah.
And that crib's expensive,
Oh, yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
So losing on that side has lots of levels of negativity with it. You
Right.
know, how do you look at that and let that affect like your overall like sense of like this is where I'm at in competition, this is where I need to be.
Yeah. That's so cool you said that. Yeah, it's like two ends to the same thing or two sides of the same coin. Cause like you said, like there are these MMA fighters who are poor and they go out there and they're like, I got to support my family. Like this is food on the table.
Right.
Where for me, it's not, right? And that's not bad. I think it's all how you play those cards. That was their life situation. That wasn't mine.
Yeah, it seems like in
Mhm.
athletics there's the like especially in jiu-jitsu there's the people that they come from a good background, their family
Mhm.
has money, they could do jiu-jitsu like full time because they
Right.
can,
Mhm.
and they don't need to win,
Right.
but they are winning, which is almost counterintuitive to the like I need struggle, I need hardship in my life to shape me to do this.
Mhm.
Is maybe that's what's missing?
For me,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that is what it's like. On one end, I guess I don't need it, but then when we think deeper, we're talking about it. It's like I do need it, right? Like,
Right.
I guess in all reality, I don't need to win either. I would love to win. I want to win. And I guess for me, because I know this is like a coach, like a future coaching thing for me, I'm in this athlete phase right now. As I don't teach a lot of jujitsu classes right now. I don't do a lot of privates. I'm a trainer. I coach my clients,
Right.
but I'm in full athlete mode right now, and I love it. But in terms of like, do I need to win? No. I know I'll still be a good coach. I want the win to just show other people, like, hey, I struggled and like I won a world championship.
Right.
That's why I want to do it. And of course, there's ego in there. Like, of course, I want to say like world
Yeah.
champion. Like, but in all reality, I just want to show like not only am I a good coach, but like I'm a world champion, and I can show you how, because not all amazing athletes are great coach. They don't know how to break it down. Maybe they're not super supportive, and I know that I can be all that, and then hopefully be a champion as well.
That's awesome. I think it's something that's missing a lot of times from coaching and also from the athletes is
Mhm.
like understanding that I'm going to treat this as something that I would have to sacrifice just as much as the guy
Mhm.
that is coming off the street saying I got to do this to feed myself.
Right.
You know, I want to be in the UFC someday. I want to do this. Like even as a jiu-jitsu athlete, you're still doing a competitive combat sport. You
Mhm.
know, people there's chance for injury every
Yep.
day in training. There's chance for injury at the competition because those people don't want to lose either.
Yeah.
Some of those people are fighting to get out of the favela in Brazil,
Yeah.
you know, so that
Absolutely.
there's that element of I have to figure out how to kind of turn it on for me.
Right.
And I know because I'm always following your stuff. You know, you're my coach for strength conditioning.
Mhm.
So I'm always looking and then I'm getting ideas from you about books.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Big book nerd.
the mental part, I know, and obviously it becomes even more apparent when you don't maybe get the result.
Yeah.
Because when you get the result and you're used to getting the result,
Mhm.
you just chalk it up to I am talented. I am
Mhm.
very good at what I do. I'm the best in the world. And if you don't get the result, but you're close, you're like, it's not the physical preparation, everything right. I ate
Yeah.
right. You know, you're not a person that's leaving anything on the table. And most of the time, what you hear from most coaches and experts and athletes is the last piece is that mental part.
Absolutely.
So what with the books, is there something specific that you're looking for? Is there something you found that is now starting to click, especially after the result?
Oh yeah. Lots of things have clicked in the
Right.
books. I'm glad you brought books up. Books have been like my coaches too. You know, it's like they all kind of reinforce the same things. And some of those things, like you said, for pretty much all athletes at that level, it is a mental thing. Everybody's skill is relatively the same and everybody has different body types. And John Danaher talks about this. Confidence is extremely important. He does attribute it to skill. But there is a missing piece of just like I'm highly skilled and I'm confident. You can be extremely skilled and not have the confidence that you need. So one of the books I was reading, I think it was called Psychology of a 21st Century Winner by Dennis Waitley. I think it was him. And then there's another book called With Winning in Mind by Larry Bassam, who your friend recommended that to me. One of those books, great books, by the way. So read both of them.
I think yeah,
Um,
Will gave you
Will gave me that one, and that was a good book. That was really, I'm so glad he gave me that one. But he said 90% of the winning is done by 5% of the athletes.
right.
Why is that? It has to do with their minds. So I realized that. I realized a lot of through these books saying the same thing in different ways. So it's not a waste to read multiple books because you get multiple perspectives and you build your own. And one thing that like Olympians do and was the journaling. And a lot of them do visualization. Tiger Woods did a lot of visualization. Michael Phelps, I believe Conor McGregor did. And then a lot of them journal. So, and I did not want to journal. I'm just like a thinker.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do it. I was like, "Ugh,
It's extra
one more
step.
thing to do.
Extra step. Yeah.
Yep. And all these books were saying the same thing. And there's another cognitive neuroscientist I really like. She talks about rewiring your brain. Like if you go through trauma, like it is your response. It's not your fault what happened to you. It's your responsibility how you heal.
Right.
And a lot of people have said that. And you can rewire your brain through meditation and through journaling and affirmations and not only that, but when you journal things that happen in the training room and things that you do good, you keep reinforcing the good. So in 2024, I realized I wasn't doing that and I sucked it up and I was like, all right, we're going to do it because I promised myself because I had like lost a match very quickly in the beginning of 2024. It was a gi match I took on a short notice and I like lost in like 3 minutes. She like triangled me. And I was like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Like, this is so embarrassing. Yep. And part of me was just like, Jordan, you told yourself you're going to do this until you're 40 and you're not going to leave any stone unturned in your pursuit. You're going to give it everything you have. And so part of that was, okay, we're doing all the physical is locked in. I have the best coach, the best training room. I recover, I track my food, I stretch, that's fine. It was here.
Right
And I
there.
realized that I wasn't willing to do daily mental work. We go to the gym and work out, we track our food, we eat right. And so I have to be willing to spend 30 minutes to train my brain, actually sit down and train my brain, not think about it when I'm driving. Like, so for me, what happened in 2024 is I started journaling. I was like, God, I'll do it, and I hated it at first because I think I competed another time and like, I don't think I did. I think that's when I hurt my finger. So it's kind of hard to say, like that finger got snapped sideways. I don't know if you guys can see it. And I was like, okay, maybe it was a wash. I got injured, but with that, I was able to focus more on my mind. So I hated it. But then in 3 months of journaling, I was like, you're going to do this every day. And part of my journaling is I write a gratitude because gratitude is linked with joy. So something that I'm grateful for. It can be anything. And then I would write like affirmation statements written in present, not like I will or whatever. You're supposed to write them like I am.
Yeah.
And again, things I learned through books. Then the other side of the page on the journal is training. You know, what did John teach? What are some key points? What's the date? Any cool things that happened today? Stuff like that. So it's not like Dear Diary stuff.
Yeah.
And then also another piece of this was writing down in training, because you always want to reinforce the good. And that being said, it's important to nitpick yourself and see where you need those improvements. But 3 things that I write is something that I got to write one thing at least. What's something that you spent effort on? Was it your heart rate? Was it like you were trying to do it at a different pace? What's something you put exceptional effort in today? And then the other thing was successes. Like, did you get a submission? Did you get a
Right.
sweep? Did you escape all your mount rounds? Write them all down. You have to pick one. Even if you got your ass kicked in training,
Right.
my success today was I lasted 30 seconds, but you know what I mean? Whatever it might have been. So
I
you come
didn't
up-
get submitted by that guy with
Yes.
that thing. Yeah.
Yes. If that has to be your success, do it. And then the other thing is progress. What am I progressing on? You know, because my butterfly sweeps are getting better, my chain wrestling. What are we progressing on? So you're always reinforcing that good.
Mm.
And then if there was anything specific in training that I'm like, ooh, I do suck at this or whatever, I would write that down as like needs improvement. I don't write that down every day, but very important how you speak to yourself.
Right.
Another mentor.
Could do better at this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
and
needs fine tuning.
Exactly.
Not saying you suck at doing this.
Exactly. Yeah. And that kind of brings me to, next point too with this is being very careful how you speak to yourself and your teammates. My mentor that helped me go online with online training, he was very big on this. He goes, don't say you suck at sales. Do not say it. Even if you're joking, even if you're trying to make a cool joke about yourself, we know that self-depreciation is funny. But be very careful with that because what did he say? Your brain doesn't know the
Yeah,
difference.
you're talking to yourself.
Yes. And you reinforce that. So, and I get onto my teammates when they're like, oh God, I suck. Or Jordan's going to kick my ass again. I say, don't say that. Don't suck at guard passing. It needs improvement.
You're just not
Say
good
that.
enough yet. You're not good
Yeah.
at it yet.
See, and that's what I say. Like, if I do think I suck at something in the training room, I'll be like, man, my leg lock escapes need work.
Yeah.
I don't say I suck at leg lock escapes.
I've just
I
got to
just
get
think
better.
They need
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Or I say I am working on them. They are getting better. I frame it like that. And that's another, how you speak to yourself is very important. And then I know as a coach, that will be important. One thing I'm trying to do differently, and I actually owe this to my teammate, Chloe McNally. One thing she did really well, continues to do that I kind of copy her now. She is always saying something positive after a roll. She doesn't criticize you. If you do need improvement, she will. But one thing I noticed about Chloe is she'll be like, man, you're really great here and you're really great here. Like immediately after we train.
So that that
Yeah.
is for people that don't kind of know why that's important.
Mhm.
What usually happens after a round is I roll with you, I beat you, and I go,
Critique the shit out of
man,
me.
you've got to get better at freeing yourself from this position.
Yes.
You gotta defend this underhook better, man. I'm just gonna keep smashing you.
Yes. And I'm not going to
What
be
did I
willing to
do
hear
good?
that.
What did I do good?
Yeah.
Did I do anything good?
Yeah.
Like, hey,
I used to do
you
that too.
framed better.
Yes.
You got tighter underneath me better. You held me off better. Like,
Mhm.
that's very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
It's always important to, even if you do have critiques, like especially if it's someone you don't have that trust with yet, you're building that confidence. So when it is time to critique them, because I've put so much positive things that they're doing, be like, oh, hey, like I noticed this. I'm like, yeah, tell me. And asking permission.
Right.
I've definitely been guilty of like, hey man, remember to breathe, like calm down.
Oh, for
Like,
sure, for
I've
sure.
definitely like offended people. And so I ask permission before because I don't want to be that guy that's like,
Hey, could I tell you something real quick?
yeah, I'd be
It's
like,
hey,
yeah, I'll ask permission to give them that feedback.
good.
And
Yeah,
and
that's good.
they respect that. I've never had anybody tell me no. And just the fact that you asked permission is like, now that the power's in your hands, do you want to receive that?
Mhm.
Rather than me just like outright saying it. And I owe Chloe that she's very positive in that. And we both speak that to each other so that when it is time to, she's preparing right now for PANS. And I was able to watch and like actually say, okay, like these need improvement. And she was so willing to hear that
Yeah.
because we have that trust with each other.
You understand everything. Everything at this point is
Mhm.
constructive.
Yes.
Yeah. I want your
Mhm.
goals just as bad as you want them.
And I did realize too, her being so positive towards everybody else, she's reflecting that back to herself.
Yeah.
So you put the good out in other people, like that comes back, like that energy. And so I learned a lot of this in 2024, the journaling, and I felt like 3 months in, I felt the difference. of like, I like this. I want to
What
journal.
was there something specific that caused like the light bulb moment?
I don't
Or
know
it
if
was like
it
you
was a
woke
slow
up and you're
build.
like, hey, I'm here.
It was definitely a slow build where I realized I was looking forward to journaling. And then I realized I was speaking differently to myself. I was speaking differently to my teammates. I was letting a lot of things like go in training in terms of like, oh, you got this. And it was like, hey, this guy got me in a DARS. Like, good job, dude. That was clean. You know, like
Go, yeah.
really just smiling and laughing things off. Like, dude, good job. Cause like, you know, I'm a black belt and I train with a lot of blue belt brown guys. And like one guy, he what did he do? He got me in some head and arm choke, and he's like, man, I sometimes with the neck, if I cranked your, and I was like, bro, that was clean. I was like, that was clean, bro. I was
That's
trying to get out of it. Yeah,
apologize.
I'm like, I can't
I
even.
should have defended better, man. Good job.
Yeah. So, and by speaking that, I roll it off my shoulder. I took my lesson. Where did I make my mistake? And he's confident. I've rolled off and also letting that go in training.
Yeah.
So that was all 2024 was building the belief in myself. Yeah.
I think that, you know, as a coach, I've said this several times. Everybody wants to win,
Yeah.
but not everybody wants to learn how to win.
Right.
Like I want to be good at jiu-jitsu, so I'll be more physical and I'll be faster. You know, I'll be stronger.
That was me.
I'll learn that one. Like I'm gonna go find that one move that works for this guy.
I'm gonna train hard.
They work really, really good at that
Yeah.
one move, and they become a one-trick pony with this thing, and then they just never get past those plateaus because they're not implementing. Hey, I have to be intentional with my training. I have to think about things. I need to talk to myself better. I can't get done and go, oh man, I suck, and or make excuses as to why. Like, oh well, you know, I couldn't do this because my shoulder hurt. I couldn't do this with my knee hurt.
Yeah.
I'm always injured. So, I mean, if something works, like, hey, I'm glad I could do it while I was crippled. If it doesn't work, I'm glad I got close while I was crippled.
Yeah,
you know?
we're willing to like put it out there on somebody. Like, I think one thing for me is starting jiu-jitsu late. One of my victim mindsets was, oh, these girls started jiu-jitsu when they're 8 and 5 and they're super flexible and I'm not. And like, I am actually so glad I'm not flexible naturally. Look at how I've been able to help my clients with my stretch routine and like overcome that. All of that, like I did feel like I'm spiritual and I felt God speak to me, like all of these challenges that you're faced with, you should be thanking me for, because now you're going to be able you're going to use that to your advantage. Just like flexible people use it to their advantage. You not being flexible, but you're strong as hell. You're going to use that to your advantage. All of those things.
I think it's important that like from a coaching standpoint, especially if you like, I would say, being honest, if we're playing poker genetically, okay, you definitely got a full house. Like I'm a pair of clubs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll do the best I can.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's important that because of the way that you present things with like how you speaking about this, how you do your training, which is going to rub off on people that you have a direct line of contact with, that have a direct line of contact with other people, the way you do your social media, it all comes from a place of like, you may see a superior athlete because of my build and my physical presence, but I'm still trying to fill in the gaps and figure out I'm still trying to be a student.
Yeah, always a student.
And I think that's important for white belts, blue belts, purple belts to be looking at and go, I'm not done. When I get that black belt, I'm still learning. If I stop training at black belt, then I'm not a black belt anymore.
You're right. You know? I think John had said that in one of his posts, maybe sometime last year. He said, the moment you think you know everything about a given move, you have turned off all improvement. And for him to say that, because I think John knows everything, even John is open to being like, what more do we know about the armbar?
Oh, I got to sit in. So, we're talking 2013, maybe 2015. I shared a limo with him going to a UFC event because he was cornering George St. Pierre against Johnny Hendricks. I had one of my guys on that fight card as well, on the undercard. Cool. And then at the event, like you go to the host hotel and you get to work out in the locker rooms and stuff. And he was in there talking MMA and I knew who he was, but only because of like the in the industry kind of stuff. And I was just like, this guy knows so much about grappling. And then he would start talking about the striking elements. And he'd start talking about and I was like, all right, well, this guy's a weirdo. And then you fast forward 10 years later and he's the biggest, best mind in jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, oh my God, that's that dude from the limo ride. And I was like, why is he wearing a rash guard with wind pants? You know?
Fanny pack.
Yeah. Like I was like, seriously, in my head, I'm like, who's this dork?
Yeah.
And then I'm so glad I didn't say anything. Like, number one, he probably would have killed me. And or GSP would have definitely killed me. But I mean, yeah, like to see how much information this guy has accumulated,
Mhm.
and to know that he's accessing it all on behalf of his students.
Yeah.
Like,
And
because
study.
I've tried to do it at my gym, but something that I know you love taking advantage of, but I think students just don't get how important it is he will sit and do Q&A until
Oh my God.
people are done having questions.
Thank you, John, for doing that. Don't ever stop doing that.
That's huge because
Yes.
let's
it's
be
a free
honest.
private.
Yeah,
He
let's
does not have to do that with us.
no, let's be honest. You're paying tuition to go and do a
Yeah.
class.
And that would be enough.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and like Gary Tonin said, hey, you're not paying me to be your counselor, you're not paying
Nope.
me to be your nutritionist, you're not paying me to do your workouts.
Nope.
You're not paying me the extra, like asking questions about a move. Pay me for a private. He goes, you don't understand how much coaches that do the extra are
Yeah.
really doing extra.
Yeah.
And for him
Right.
to offer that is just shows like, hey
Mhm.
man, the guy might have expensive instructionals, but
Yeah.
if you're willing to go train, he'll answer your questions.
He
He's
will.
not holding anything
That's how
back.
he shows us his love, I think.
Yeah,
is
he's
his
just
time
capitalizing
with us.
on what he has. He's got a brain for it. He knows how to
Mhm.
tell people how to work.
He does not have to teach for an hour. He does not have to answer our dumbass questions for 10 to 20 minutes
Yep.
patiently, most times, at the end of class.
Oh, I've heard people ask some throwaway ones.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, so John, what
Did
do you
he
think
really?
about if Khabib versus GSP? And,
Yeah.
and he's like, well, this is his skill set. This is his skill
Yeah.
set. This is what would happen. I think he would
Yeah.
win. And you're like,
I've asked him questions I thought were dumb, and he
Like,
looked at me,
bro.
and I'm like, if you can withstand him kind of looking at you like, but he'll give you a great answer, and I'm like, it was worth the
Yeah.
little embarrassment I just took for that.
that's funny.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think one of the funniest things I heard, which is funny because one of my friends had said something similar, but
Mhm.
he had somebody doing the uke, and he goes, would you please pretend you know jujitsu? I was like,
He said that to him.
would you please pretend you know jujitsu? I was like, oh, fuck.
That and make a strong body. You better make a strong body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so when we were having lunch,
Mhm.
so you come down, we organized, we were talking, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go to Austin and train.
Yeah.
You almost want to meet me down there.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll all go see the comedy show and stuff, hang out. Went and had lunch. What was the thing about the classes that made you go like, damn?
With John.
Yeah. Like,
Oh,
because
man.
again, there's guys that they could go train with anybody and they don't choose to train with him. So that
Mhm.
it's not that he's the best. He's the
Mhm.
best at what he does that
Mhm.
reaches the audience that is able to receive it.
Yeah.
So why did you receive that better, do you think? Like, why did it have such
Yeah.
an impact on your game? Because it's not like you came into things uneducated, unskilled. Because I've seen you compete prior to training there,
Mhm.
and you're still a beast.
Thank
But
you.
there's obviously a technical shift.
Definitely. I think, yeah, like John, the way John speaks and teaches isn't for everybody. I've had people say they don't like the way he speaks or it's too monotone. I don't care about any of that. I love his accent. Like I think it's,
He says some funny shit.
Yeah,
He sneaks
he's
some
funny.
gold in there.
I think his PhD background, especially, I think it's philosophy, right? It's his
Yes.
PhD. The way that he can convey information is from a beginner, he can convey it to a beginner all the way to an advanced person in just such a way using metaphors and examples. He's not overly detailed. He can be, but he's not overly
I
detailed.
feel like there's not the words he uses, how he
Yes.
speaks, even the
He
cadence.
doesn't waste words. That's what it is.
It's not allowing for there to be a misinterpretation of the direction.
You're right. I think, yeah,
Streamlined.
he does not waste his words. Whereas someone like I need to work on that too.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
he rarely ever even stutters or skips or says he doesn't say boom.
I go-
Very mature in how he speaks. He
What do I do?
never wastes language.
I do the you guys get what I'm saying?
I
You
say
get what I'm
that.
saying?
I said boom yesterday when I taught, and I was like, I was like, you got through this whole class.
What-
It was the
hold
last thing.
on. So what are your other ones you say when you teach a class? What are the things you do or say that you're like, damn it?
I know the boom. Oh, so annoying. Saying is something I have to catch myself doing. Yeah. There I go again. That I don't know what else. I'm working on it.
Mine's mostly I've started to figure out you got to bring your own uke.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
that's rough sometimes.
Shout out to Maddie. She the best uke. Girl,
She's-
sell it.
listen. I'm gonna. So she's gonna go to Florida, do a little training for a
Cool.
weekend at ATT. Send her to Mo and Ryan, those guys out there. But when she's out there, I'm gonna tell Mo to take her to one of those like wrestling training camps.
She
sells.
she would be
so
amazing. She
good.
should consider. She should definitely consider. They have that. There's a thing in Austin where they'll teach you how to do it.
That's so funny.
Oh yeah, back to John because I didn't finish. I know that's how these things go though, right? Like just like Side combos, back to the main one. So John doesn't waste words when he teaches, can convey information amazingly. He his technique, you're not going to see people teach the way he teach, but I think the biggest thing was the positional sparring for me.
Oh yeah,
That was
that's big.
huge. That was something listening to his podcast, I realized the high level training rooms were doing this. And at the time with my coach, they again, I don't own the academy, so other coaches don't really want to hear what you have to say in terms of like, hey, the best training rooms in the world are doing these positional rounds. And I think we should be doing this to get better. We should do an open round, and we should do a turtle round and a stand-up round and a mount round. And we're getting this every day.
Pure
And
wrestling round.
yes,
things
and the
like
leg
that.
lock round. And I was just kind of met with like, not everybody's trying to be a champion kind of thing. And to that I understand, and it's totally not my business.
But I think everybody's trying to get better at jiu-jitsu.
You're right. Yeah. And to that point, I'd like to argue it's like this positional round is great for hobbyists. It's great for champions and
actually,
yeah.
the
safer.
big thing is way safer because you get to control the tempo.
Yes.
And I think the thing that people don't understand, like everybody goes, well, we do positional rounds. Okay, you start out in side control for 2 minutes, first person to score, get a submission or get up. And then the other person goes, the bell rings, they go for 2 minutes. Then you go with someone else, you do it again. Or you know, how about, hey, we're going to start from standing against a seated position. You have to pass. If you enter closed guard, the round is over. You have to go for upper body pins before you can do submissions.
Yes.
You know, you start putting these limitations on it. And now you're forcing people to get better because everyone has to focus on something they're not really good at.
Yes.
If given the opportunity, people will always do what they're good at. Because again, I want to win.
Great for hobbyists and striving champions.
Yeah.
Safer. And I think John had explained one time in a Q&A why he does it the way he does it. And he said, in terms, most jiu-jitsu matches are won or lost because of the chest to chest position, mount side control, AKA chest to back position, the back round. That's why we have a turtle round.
Right.
Because you need to learn, and then sometimes we do special training. You start like EBI overtime.
Right.
But most of our rounds, you can start back or front turtle so that you're learning to follow these Granbies and get those hooks in. And then you stop it.
And you got
And
to sit through and octopus. And
yes. And then of course we have our guard. Most of jiu-jitsu is guard passing in your guard. So we have that round. And then he purposely does stand up last because you're tired. And he does mount first. He said, I like to do mount first when you're fresh. Because if you can hold down a fresh guy ready to buck and then you can do it when they're tired. And so I think that's why we do mount for. He has a whole system. Right?
And I think if you can chase down and chain together wrestling when you're tired, you can definitely do it fresh.
And it's safer to do it. It's safer to do it when we're tired at the end. And he doesn't do timers. And we do it.
We were talking about you and me did a 15-minute wrestling round.
Oh my God, yeah.
I was like, holy crap, I can't quit first because she's my coach.
And I'm like, I can't quit because I'm his coach.
I was like, this bitch, please slow down.
Yeah, I have to and then of course, John is in my head when in terms of conditioning, he said this the other day, he said, it's not a big deal if you're tired.
Yeah.
Just like when you drive a car, you're going to run out of gas. Don't worry about being tired as long as your opponent is more tired than you. Yeah. And so when we do those damn wrestling rounds, I'm huffing and puffing and I have to tell myself, breathe out your nose. And then I remind myself, I'm like, look at my partner. Is he or she breathing heavier than me? Yes.
If they're not uncomfortable.
I turned it up.
Yeah. If they're not uncomfortable, I can be tired. I can be uncomfortable, but they need to be more uncomfortable than me.
Yes.
I had a student, she's working towards like competing for the first time and like in positional rounds with wrestling, moving backwards. And this is not something unique to her in any way. You see guys, girls, athletes, competitors, like everybody moves backwards when they first start, like for the most part, especially when they start figuring out, like, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
Then it becomes, sometimes you become more timid, you move away. You're number one, you're displaying to your partner, you don't have the confidence. So like you talked about, John said about confidence. So number one, that's there. But also I've just found, you know what, if I'm not in great shape, I'm going to spend all my energy that I have making this guy go backwards and hold me up. So if I can do that and win inside positions, I'll be okay.
And that's such a good way to frame it, because if you were to frame it the other way as like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. Now you're just thinking about how tired you are and you made yourself more tired.
Then you're going to try to evade. And now you're always you're doing extra work that you don't realize, but it's like small adjustments in balance and small adjustments in your positioning that is taxing your health bar the entire time.
Right.
If I'm walking forward and making you keep me standing up, like that's helping me out. I'm good to go. I can rest wearing you out.
Exactly. I love that. I think I've heard from other wrestlers there is some benefit to kind of being someone who backs up, but like to anything, too much of one thing can be bad.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
No, going forward, definitely. Like,
Going
I've
forward,
I've,
go
d-
for it.
I've had
And going
dudes
too much
drop into a
forward.
fireman on me. I'm like, oh, nice.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. Nothing like getting dropped by a
tuck your chin.
fireman or an Uchimata because you just were so aggressive, or a duck under,
Yeah,
and you're
the
like,
body lock, and then they
yeah,
oh,
you're like,
damn.
whoops,
You
too
get
much
those
of
fire
anything.
miles.
Yeah, airline miles. That's
That
insane.
you know and we had talked. We talked quite a bit. Like where you're at competitively right now,
Mhm.
you're in good shape. You don't have any injuries.
Let's keep it that way.
Adjustments, however, have to be made because like right now, I'm basically have one leg.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, it's been really, really like everything I've been doing has been focused on not just doing jujitsu,
Mm,
but making the time to do strength and conditioning,
mhm,
like to help build up and do the corrective exercise stuff. So you
mhm.
talk a little bit about like problems you see with, we'll talk about like 30 and up,
Mhm. Yeah.
or maybe even younger people that like in their 20s getting into jiu-jitsu to avoid and bulletproof their body so the
Right.
injuries don't become a thing.
Yes. What's your question?
Well, my question is like, what do we do? Like, because
Oh, yeah.
everybody's so
Yes.
hung up on like, oh, I should do intermittent fasting and I should do keto and I
Yes.
should do macros. And then people were like, I should do powerlifting, I should do 5-3-1, I should do
Yeah.
CrossFit, I should do HIIT training, everybody's got the kettlebell workout.
That's a good
Everybody
question.
has their own bro science way to it,
Right.
or like this is documented, it works.
Mhm.
But how do you find ways to do all that and not hurt yourself because you're doing such a
Yes.
physically demanding activity?
How can we minimize these injuries? Because we all know that having any type of injury just keeps you off the mat, and then it's not good for anybody. The main thing is having a really good warm up, and having really good recovery and realizing where you are at as an athlete. I would say, I think you did ask, like, what are some things like 30 and up deal with? I see a lot of meniscus, unfortunately. It sucks. I feel like I see more meniscus than ACL. I don't know.
Well,
And
I think I think tearing
sucks.
your meniscus is probably
It's the
one
worst
of the
thing.
most common things in
And that
jiu-jitsu
sucks. You do
outside
not
of
want that
tennis
one.
elbow.
Yeah, because that's the padding of your knee, and
Yeah.
unfortunately we can't regenerate cartilage yet. So when there's meniscus damage, depending on how bad, it's almost always, not always, but almost always a one-way ticket to arthritis when you got a meniscus tear. So because if you tear your ACL, you can get that repaired. I would say actually more often though is the non-surgical ones, which is LCL and MCL on the
Right.
outside of the knee. I have had plenty of those sprains on both knees, but usually they don't need surgery and they're usually fine.
Use like a 6-week kind of.
Yes. So some athletes are hypermobile, and that's actually not good. I actually do see the hypermobile very flexible. I'm talking like way too much
Yeah, yeah.
mobility. I do see them get injured more often. So
I've
if
seen the same.
yeah, and that's only about like maybe 20% of people, I would guess.
I also see a lot of the people that come from like a really like high school football high school
Yes.
football weightlifting off season type
Yes.
of workout thing. So they get involved in this and then they start doing jiu-jitsu and then they tear a pec or they tear a bicep.
And then
'Cause-
there's the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hypermobile people, the reason they get injured more is because now their joints are unstable. So when it comes to like perfecting your joint, you have perfect, like it sits where it needs to sit, right? And then you're too tight of an athlete, and then you're too mobile of an athlete. And these hypermobile people have no stability. So they might not need to stretch. Whereas you and I need to stretch. So if
You
you're
can't touch my toes, homie.
yeah. So hypermobile athletes probably don't need to stretch at all. They
Right.
really need to stabilize and strengthen. All of us need that, but hypermobile people need to find their limitations and stabilize.
So if you're super flexible, doing more yoga might not be the best thing.
Right. That might not be good for them.
Okay.
And then there's people who are way too tight. That was me. Way too tight. I needed to stretch. I needed static stretching. When you get more flexibility though, you got to stabilize your new range of motion.
Okay.
So having a good warm up that addresses mobility and stability, hip airplanes, I'm a huge fan of. But if I was going to say like the knee, I say probably knee injuries are probably the most common thing in jiu-jitsu, maybe low back, but I'm going to go with knees, right?
I'd say like,
We
knees
see
for sure.
shoulders, yeah, their neck. So
I know people don't classify it as an injury, but like
think probably knees are-
the tennis elbow
yeah,
thing.
with the gi, that's
Well,
huge.
especially especially with bigger guys. What you notice is
Pec
all of
tears,
them
yeah.
are only doing key locks, key lock, Kimura, key lock,
Yeah.
side control, Americana. You
Yeah.
know,
And
so those guys then they're like, "Hey, coach, what do I do for my elbows?"
Yeah.
Well, you have tennis elbow now because you guys just crank on each other.
And they're probably not stretching. And to that end, you had mentioned earlier pec tears with men. It's so funny. Like men and women both have pecs, but in my experience, I have not met a single woman with a pec tear because a lot of men they're obviously working their chest more because of just stereotypes. But all the pec and bicep tears I've seen have been all men, right?
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
too tight or they're overtraining. So to that end, but I guess if we could agree on the fact that knee injuries are probably the most
Yeah.
common in jiu-jitsu. And so in my opinion, not only with we have mobility and stability, but to eliminate or reduce the risk of knee injuries in jiu-jitsu, the key is actually not exactly the knee itself, it's the hips and it's the glutes. I would say even not assessing a person or knowing them at all, if I were just to throw a blanket program at people, I would hit them with some glute with that band glute work, stabilizing with bridges, single leg bridges, those clamshells, extending the hip correctly, getting those glutes to fire. Because a lot of people their glutes are not firing correctly, and because of that, the low back takes over. Their hamstrings are doing all the work. So I would say for most jujitsu, and not only that, but like you need strong glutes to bridge. Think about butterfly sweeps. That's bridging. Escaping the mount is a bridge. Escaping side control, you're bridging.
Reverse stripping into DPAF is bridging.
Bridging,
Escaping
hamstring,
everything.
yes.
Yeah.
You need strong glutes for your wrestling. So if you can get your glutes, man or woman, really fucking strong, really stable, and so with that strength, be able to control I'm a big fan of the hip airplanes, as you guys know, standing on one leg, controlling that hip.
Yeah.
Man, your risk of knee and low back injuries just went down. And I just know that from experience, well, science and experience, that I could just almost throw that at most people and it would fix a lot of things.
I think people like the thing for me, I understand is number one, I had to make the time to do it, but I hate lifting weights because I
Really?
don't like the idea of like, let me pick it up, let me put it down.
Yeah.
And let me pick it up, let me put it down.
Repeat.
Let me go grab that dude and ragdoll him around the gym
Yeah.
and have fun. You
Yeah.
know, so it was that was like a big mental hurdle for me. But now I look at it as like this part of my job because if I get injured,
Yeah.
I can't work.
You're right.
So like I have to be paying attention to this stuff.
Yeah.
I'll
That's
go
a
ahead
good
and
point.
segue to this.
Yeah. And I have a point to make too, after you make your point.
So for me, like prevention, I hear people all the time. I have students that go, "Oh man, my one student, I'm gonna get her to get a good ankle brace." But she's like, "Oh, my ankle." I'm like, "Well, you're not even wearing like." And in my head, I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, walk it off or whatever." In my head, I'm like, "You're not wearing your brace," but then the brace falls off, whatever. But like for me, like having knee braces,
I wear them.
It's just something. It's like that's like a necessary expense.
I'm injured like you, and I wear I wear a thin knee sleeve because it's the pounding on the mat.
Yep.
Like, that's still like
Even doing no-gi with like mat burn and stuff.
yeah, mat. Oh yeah, mat burn. If I'm wearing shorts, I don't want to scrape my knee, and then we do the wrestling. So every time my knee hits the mat, just that little padding. I don't know why and plus you have the reinforcement of just it's a warmer, it's a little bit more stable.
Yeah.
I don't know why a lot of people actually don't. I don't know why. It's kind of like why aren't you guys wearing mouthpieces? I'm not trying to get
Yeah.
I wear a mouthpiece. I always have. But people
I know MMA dudes that don't wear mouth. It's like I don't understand
Jesus
you. At all.
Christ. But yeah, I've had people look at my knee. They're like, your knee's injured, and actually they're not. I'm like, I just do it for like safety and reinforcement, and especially with the wrestling, they're like, oh, the knee pads, it's newbie, and I'm like, okay, like I guess I'm newbie. I don't care.
So I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to like blow my kneecap
Yeah,
out.
get you some reinforcement there. Kind of helps, like, and just in case if someone was to bend that knee just a little too far, that brace just maybe helped you a little bit. And it's again is it a crutch or is it just reinforcement? Is it that middle ground?
So no BS, just being straight up. The Anaconda knee brace, they sent me like a care package, and it was one of those deals where it's like, hey, are you interested in signing up, maybe being an ambassador?
I've heard of them.
And everything. And I was like, I just need some knee braces. Yeah, sure. Because they're gonna send you a deal.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that'd be that. Whatever. Just at least I'll get some
You're
new
a perfect ambassador, for
right?
that.
Like I'm crippled.
Yeah.
So they go, hey, if you're going on a podcast, you want to talk about it. They sent me this script to kind of go back and forth about it, and I was like, you know what? Here's all I need to say. Like, the old one.
Oh, that's the old one.
So the old one, I bought it.
I tried the old one too.
Okay.
I hated it.
Why?
Sorry, Anaconda. Sorry.
Why?
It felt so loose. It was super loose. Maybe I got too wrong of a size, but I measured and I went off
Yeah.
the side and it felt loose and it just felt like it wasn't helping.
So
Felt like cloth.
so this thing, what I ended up doing is I would just keep
me
these
see this one.
anyway, and I just kept the gel. They still had the gel pad in the knee.
I think the gel pads.
And
gonna go away.
I cut the straps off because it was gonna slide down with the straps
Yeah.
sliding it down. It was uncomfortable, so I just kept it as
Yeah.
a knee sleeve just for like friction, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but
Scrapes.
so I get this new one in. I'm thinking I'm just gonna get more of those that I can cycle through for the laundry.
So they took the feedback and they made it better.
Apparently, they actually gave a shit what people said.
Good for them.
So
They
yeah,
worked
so this is
hard.
like way more reinforced. It's
Look at
got
that.
way deeper grips on it. Like it's an actual good knee brace. I'm like, okay, well now I have
Wow.
to use those when
Ooh,
I
it
train.
has, this isn't metal. Maybe this is like a plastic in there.
It
You
is
guys
actually
can't
like
see, but
side runner reinforcement,
yes,
and they
there's like
didn't
a
have that in the
little-
first one.
yeah. And
So-
if you have knee injuries, but even if you didn't, like this is really good for
Yeah.
stabilizing.
So
the
this
knee.
is my
yeah.
like legit shilling for a company, but
Yeah.
like it's because I actually would use it. Like I'm
Yeah, and that
actually
grip.
like
yeah, so
like it
grip
now.
the leg. Yeah, and I think that's important in jiu-jitsu is because there's tons of different knee sleeves. If you go too thick, you've ruined your mobility. Now you can't bend the knee for
Yep.
triangles and like all kinds of things. So it can't be too thick, but it also can't be too thin. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
why
this-
he does.
They're legit. They
Isn't
took what
it-
people said.
Isn't it a purple belt or something like owns it? Or
I think so.
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
Good for
all
them.
right. So those aren't just like, let me just put something on just for a
With the
a mental
strap.
block.
What do you think of the strap? Like, is it still beneficial that they have the strap around?
So I think the strap does help with stability. I think the issue with me with the strap, so
Yeah.
I have to keep mine looser, is
Okay.
unlike a lot of athletes, most people are saying have a meniscus tear.
Yeah.
They have maybe some grade of ACL tear.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tear an MCL, LCL. You never hear people tearing their PCL. My
And you do
PCL is
not
torn
want
in
that.
half and
Oh,
it's
Brian.
retracted on both ends.
Oh,
So-
that's why.
So they don't like. So that's why I can't move. That's why my mobility is so limited.
Yeah.
Lateral, everything is because there's nothing supporting the back of my leg.
How did you tear your PCL? It's very rare.
So
I have-
was
I have an interesting tidbit about it.
So I've got two things. Number one, I think what I initially maybe caused a tear to it was I was bouncing at a club in Odessa. It was like 33-cent beer night for like a 33-ounce beer, like for like a
I
quarter.
already know where this is going.
Yeah. So I had to kick a guy out because he like decided that well, since I'm drunk, I'll go ahead and violate the dress code and like get down to my wife beater and turn my hat around and just all of a sudden become like an asshole. So I was like, hey, you can't. If you'll go out in the parking lot, sleep it off, call a cab, call a friend, whatever you need to do.
Mhm. Don't tell a
But you
drunk
can't
guy
stay
that.
your homie. I don't think anything of it. I go back in. I start having a pretty bad headache. I think I had just fought like maybe like the weekend before, and obviously I got smacked around.
Mhm.
With these T-Rex arms, fighting at heavyweight, retarded. So I walk out. I'm like, tell my buddy that's inside, say, hey, I'm gonna go. The parking lot goes from the bar to a 7-Eleven, like an L. It's like, hey, I'm gonna walk to the 7-Eleven, go get some Tylenol. You need anything? No, okay, cool. I'll be right back. So I'm walking, and as I step up onto like the grass part, where there's a walkway to now go to the property where there's the 7-Eleven,
Mhm.
I just hear an engine rev. And homie that I kicked out
Shut up.
hit me with his Hyundai Tiburon
You got hit by a car.
on purpose.
Oh, you got ran
On purpose.
over.
So then I flip in the air, break his windshield and everything. Dude, I fucked up that Tiburon. I was
Good.
about 265
Well,
too.
it sounds like you almost died too.
But I mean, like the car
Oh,
was
yeah,
way
yeah.
worse. So then like I fall and I hit the ground. I'm right next to the car, but the car's not going anywhere. And I hear the engine revving. He high centered it up on that little median thing. So he's available. So I reach into the window
Oh, you got up.
and pulled him out of the
Yo,
car.
not you
And I
going full like Terminator.
I beat the shit out of that guy. Cops pull up
Yes.
and they're like,
Please tell me you went to jail.
And I was like, he ran me over. They're
Yeah,
like,
he did.
oh shit.
Yeah, like, that's self-defense.
Yeah. Oh, I was like, this guy's trying to kill me. Obviously, he tried once. And if I give him an opportunity to do whatever he's about to do in that car, I might end up getting shot, stabbed. I'd already
Wow.
been stabbed working at that job. So like,
Dude.
so
33-cent beer night is not
32
good
cent
for you.
beer, that was a bad idea. They were using the big glass mugs, like the Steins. And I was like, why are we doing this?
Disaster.
That's a projectile.
You guys ruined a good thing.
We
Like
need to
this is why we
red
can't
Solo
have it.
cups.
Yeah,
Can't have
yeah.
nice things.
Wow, I am shocked that you went 10 feet up in the air, hit the windshield, and got up to kick that. I'm sure adrenaline
When I
was
landed, I
rushing.
went, I did.
I think God
Olympic.
came in you like, yeah, like it was, dude. He deserved. I hope you beat the shit out of him. Did you
It
like?
was real. No, I did like
Was it like bash his head into
I did
the?
like the Rampage Jackson, like,
Yes.
but not in the guard. I just
I'm so
picked him
proud of
up
you.
and slammed him on the concrete. I
Deserved
picked
it.
him up and slammed him on the
He
concrete.
curb stomped him, but
And
you
then
did.
then I mounted him and I punched him a couple times. And then the dude I was with, who was like 6'7", 315 pounds, comes. I want to say running. It was more like plodding, like
Yeah.
an ogre across the parking lot and goes, "Get out of the way, I'll get him."
Yeah.
And then he like picks the dude up like 8 feet in the air and slams him on the
this guy
ground.
deserves
And I was
it.
like, all right, well, I'm gonna go over here and puke real quick. And then I can't
man.
stand up. So
Wow.
I was running
what a
on pure
crazy
adrenaline.
story. Yeah.
So
oh
I
my
think
God.
that was, and then I could never do anything athletically at that point. Like I number one, I was fat anyway. But outside of that, like I just couldn't do the same stuff I was doing in fights before and in training before. It never really got better after that. Then you fast forward to I'm a cop. I'm in a foot pursuit with a guy, and we're going up a little little embankment of. Well, it's raining. It was dirt. Now it's mud.
You never got it fixed, right?
I never got it fixed.
Yeah.
So then I went to I got some kind of, or tried for some kind of victims' rights, a settlement or whatever. And it covered my medical bills because I didn't have insurance at the time.
Yeah.
And I got like the rights to some money or whatever, but I was like, let somebody else have that. Like that's, I beat him up. I don't really care. You know what I mean? No big deal.
Beat him up and take y'all money, but
funny.
that's you.
But anyway, so like I'm running up a hill after a dude in a foot pursuit. I end up catching him. When I catch him, like the extra like herky jerkiness of trying to pull him back to me, I planted my foot and my knee kept going forward. My leg kind of kept going back as I pulled him on top of me. But I rolled over, got him all hooked up, handcuffed him, walked him over to the car. Like I was just like, God, my knee fucking hurts. Like it was like when remember when you're like a young antelope preteen.
Oh no.
You look like a baby giraffe.
Like all unstable.
Like a marionette.
And you're just praying it's not as bad as
like
it actually
10 years
is,
old.
but it is. Yeah.
So I felt like, number one, I felt like I was walking like that. And it felt like when you're in your very first PE class doing high knees and you hyperextend your leg. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, and I tried to get the city denied me on my insurance. Like, well, your knee shows to have prior injury. I was like, but this was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So the city never paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know how that stuff goes. Fight the power.
Yeah. And fun fact about the PCL,
Insurance.
it's such a rare injury. From what I learned about the PCL, I learned this in my medical exercise course. In the way my mentor explained it there, he said the PCL is super rare and it's very hard to fix surgically. Yep. You need a certain surgeon, and even then it's very difficult. So here's how I explained
the rehab, you have to sit like this for like 6 months.
He said the surgeon has to have such skill. I'm using this pin if you guys can't see as an example. He said basically preparing the PCL is as if I'm trying to balance this pin on the edge of the armchair.
Of a curved surface.
That's how delicate the PCL surgery is. And so you need to have like a surgeon that knows what they're doing. And that's why it's just so hard to fix. I was like, wow, didn't know that.
So I have like a grade 1 tear in my ACL, like that obviously repairs on its own. And then I know I can tell I kind of popped it a little bit, and then it's never anything like that.
I think if it's less than a 20% tear, you might be okay. But if it's 20% or more, it's probably gonna tear all the way.
But I think that for me has been the thing that like a lot of doctors have put off helping me out.
Yeah.
Is like,
they probably don't have the skills.
Your ACL is good. Your MCL and LCL they're okay. They're repairing themselves. Your meniscus is 3 surgeries in, obviously. Yeah. And that's causing all the arthritis. But also the fact back here, like that's why you have like a lengthened or shortened this type of muscle.
Yeah.
It's causing back
all of it. And it might be good that they haven't helped you because that's them saying, hey, I'm not qualified enough.
100%.
And good on 100%. them. That's
but
also sucks. Man,
help a brother out.
Help a brother out, man. Yeah.
What's your worst injury in combat sports?
Let's see.
Or what's your worst injury period?
You know what?
You were like you did like a basic training, like sprain your ankle, get trench foot.
Nothing. You know what? I think I'm very extremely blessed in the terms of injuries. I've had I would just say the worst ones are just like the MCL sprains. Those hurt pretty bad because those, for me at least, I would take like 6 to 9 months to feel normal again. And there's just a lot. You can't do lateral movement. You can't bridge. Passing's hard. You really can't do a lot of training. Nothing. I've
Plate
never.
deep half.
Yeah, I've never
I can
need
tell you
surgery
that.
though. I think I'm so lucky, right? Like knock on wood. My finger snapped. Like again, it's just a finger, so I'd hate to say that's my worst injury, but a girl did kind of jumping cross step, and she was this little rooster weight, and it just caught the gi just right, and my finger was 90 degrees bent one way and the other, and you wouldn't think it would bother you so much, but like I
Oh
couldn't do
no,
it.
it hurts so
I
bad.
I decided to not do ADCC trials because of my finger. Because even when I
Yeah.
was taping it, I trained with a tennis ball in my hands because when I had the tennis ball and I could grip it, I could still do a lot of things until I
You could
could tape
post
it.
at least like this.
Yes, so
But then when you start grabbing,
couldn't do
you're
it.
really pushing more than you realize.
Yeah, and I
Pulling.
decided like trials was not gonna be. I was like, man, it's just now I'm just thinking about my finger. So it's a finger, but I've had pulled a lot of muscles and stuff. LCL, MCLs on my knees are pretty much the worst. But other than that, I'm super lucky. I've never had anything surgical.
That's
Pulled
awesome.
things, pulled my neck. I've hurt my low back before, pulled muscles there, possibly frayed a disc like years ago, but it took a while to get back. As far as just like it didn't keep me from doing anything. I forgot what I did. Oh, I was training a client. So it wasn't in combat sports. I 6 in the morning client. I will never do this again, but went to go get the weights for him. Why'd I do that? And I hoisted these dumbbells up and
You weren't.
yeah, it was early in the morning and I did something in my back and it took a couple years to feel normal, but it
God
didn't, yeah.
Years.
Yeah, in terms of just like it was just always an ache, but it just a ton of suitcase carries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I am so lucky. Nothing. I've never had needed surgery on anything. I hope it stays that way. Yeah.
God. No, that's if you can avoid it, it's always better. Like I've had my wrist replaced.
Yeah.
I've had several knee surgeries.
God.
Even like having surgeries like I used to have kidney stones all the time because obviously when I was
Ooh.
way bigger, way more obese, and not as physically active, I just did jujitsu and I ate like crap. Like
I
I worked out
drink
hard.
any water. Sounds
Didn't
like
drink not enough. You know what I mean?
Speaking of, yeah.
So like had like kidney stone surgeries and stuff like that, but all that stuff I feel like just takes so much out of you. I think like getting put under and the anesthesia,
Not good for
I
you.
just feel like it's just like drains your life energy, So
And then
if you can
mentally.
avoid it.
Yeah, and then mentally to come back from an injury, right?
Oh yeah, because then you're always like, oh, I'm behind. Because if
Yeah.
you're a competitor or like a hobbyist that has, I'm operating under Kaizen. I want to get 1% better every single day. I want to improve, and now I'm sick.
Right.
Now I'm out for 3 weeks. Now I'm out for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and then some of these like meniscus tears lead to arthritis, and then that's an actual you can't reverse arthritis,
No,
right? The
you
bone on
can't.
bone. And yeah, to that, to the point I wanted to circle back to that point I wanted to make earlier with jujitsu, like glutes. I think glutes are super important, but strengthening your back is so important because there's a lot of isometric holding in jujitsu that people don't realize. There's a lot of grip strength, obviously, but you hold and pull more than you push.
Yeah.
And strengthening your back is important, not only just for performance, but to kind of counteract all of the forward flexion happening. Because you're in that bad jujitsu wrestling posture, your shoulders get rounded forward, your neck comes forward, your rotator cuff becomes very weak. And if you get stuck there too long, you don't work on any extension of the spine and then strengthen the back, then that just the muscle imbalance itself causes the injury.
Yeah.
And so we could call that quote unquote an overuse injury. Just it's more like you have one muscle doing too much and another muscle not doing enough, and therefore that's why you feel pain or discomfort.
So that's exactly what led me like to start working with you. Was I had hurt my back.
Yeah.
I had and it was like it was a disc issue, and they were like, "Listen, you can have bed rest, and you can do these stretches every hour that you're awake. You do it like this." And try to work that membrane or that nucleus back towards the center and get so that disc can close up. Doing a lot of like hyperextensions and stuff,
Yes.
decompression.
So good.
So I got through that, and then it was like, and in my head, I'm like, and I was definitely not as out of shape. I had competed at like 216, been 215, 220-ish, on a consistent basis. I was like, there's no way I'm this weak in my core with what I'm doing.
Right.
But I'm overusing
Overuse.
grappling, and I'm not using anything
So
for like strength conditioning and longevity and correcting imbalances. You've seen my progress pictures, like my body's
amazing.
kind of like twisted because of how much imbalance from injury. Yeah.
It's so weird, like how
weird.
much we need glutes in jujitsu, and like we all have like no ass. Jujitsu bodies have like no ass, and for real. And
You're right.
Like what is
Bunch of Hank Hills in jujitsu.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Strengthening your neck is something that gets annoyed. There's a lot you post on your head a lot, especially in terms of advanced stuff you do. There's a lot of head posting, unfortunately, and then not only that, the wrestling, your neck is getting pulled on. And guillotine chokes are not like any choking. So I do a little neck series. I think I put it in your, like I always do my
Yep.
little neck strengthening and
It's
just
like
that
80
added.
rotation, 80
Yeah.
movements. Like
And that's
a
very
lot.
important for MMA. I
Yeah.
think if you watched Floyd Mayweather's training, he did like his neck was like 20
Oh,
pound
Tyson
weight.
used to put his head down, like go
So
complete
important because you're
circles.
getting hit. Yeah.
Dude,
So your
it's
neck
rough.
is super ignored. So is the rotator cuff. So yeah, just thinking about those little muscles, if I just had to like throw it, it's like glutes, rotator cuff, neck, and back. Like just anywhere in the back. I don't even care what, just pick something to row.
I didn't think about, and it's actually in my training progression right now. I didn't think about the, especially for jujitsu,
Mm,
like the sustained isometric tension stuff.
yes.
And
that has changed me.
Doing,
Yeah.
like you're so a lot of what
I
stuff you're doing.
put the ISO hold. I was like, he gonna
You're
hate
like,
this.
you're like, all right, I can do
Yeah.
as many of these, like these certain grips of pull-ups and
Yeah.
then a 15-second ISO hold that you can tell where it's, you can definitely
Yes.
tell where it's isolating. But moving out here and doing a 15-second, you go, oh my God, my chest is on fire. Like you don't
Mhm.
realize
Yes.
the more you open up, there's more access to
Man.
give you a stronger base for everything you're trying to do.
Yes.
So it's real important. I've figured out, this is like a long conversation about me saying,
No,
I'm
great.
dumb. I should have been working out in the first place. But thank
No,
you.
hey, you know, we all learned. And to that point, the isometric holding was kind of a new thing for me the past 2 years as a trainer, realizing and as a jiu-jitsu athlete, isometric tension and endurance was so I
That's
was
all
like,
we're
oh,
doing.
yeah. And I realized like when we were, of course, with John, we do a lot of turtles. So I realized in these backgrounds, all the hand fighting, when someone pulls my thumb down to defend a choke, it's literally that brachialis right
Yeah.
there. And then I have to grip fight. So when you're grip fighting, it's your brachialis. I wasn't training. So I'm a big fan of hammer curls because of that. Not just any I like doing biceps, but if you're a jiu-jitsu athlete, we're doing hammer curls
Yeah.
and we're holding it. And any type of pulling that I do now, and for most of my jiu-jitsu athletes, at the end of the set, we do a 15 to 20 second isometric hold. And if it's like leg extensions, I like doing that as well.
Yeah, I know.
And I realized when I started doing that, well, for your knees, yeah, you're different. But I realized when I started really working this isometric stuff and like focusing on that brachialis in particular, I am not tired at all when it comes to grip fighting in the in like the EBI overtime rounds. Like I'll grip fight all day, and it's almost to the point where I just you redo the gambit, right? Okay, they fight. Okay, gambit, and I just outlast you because your grips are tired and mine aren't.
Yeah.
And then I feel them give up. Like, oh, I'm tired. Boom, there's my choke.
I think to my knuckle dragger mind, like a lot of times, a lot of my students as well, like we say, you feel so strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I used to be so offended by that. Yeah, I'm okay with it now.
What I'm telling guys is actually like I know I am physically stronger,
Mhm.
but what I'm telling is like I'm able to squeeze you
Mhm.
and breathe and be relaxed
Yeah.
the entire time of squeezing. Whereas,
Mhm.
Earlier in your jiu-jitsu career, you're squeezing
Yeah.
and then I'm done.
It's more so the endurance, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not so much being strong. A lot of people are strong and powerful. Jiu-jitsu
Strong is awesome,
Yeah.
but strong is intermittent.
yeah, it's
you
maybe
know?
like what 5% of what you need.
Yeah.
It's more like it's not how strong you are, it's how far can you carry that strength.
I always think that strength is better used like for that last push across the finish line. You need
Absolutely.
the skill
When
to
it's time to
build.
be powerful, right? Like a throw by. Wow. Like
Yeah.
there is times in jiu-jitsu where some power, you need it. But a lot of it, and that's the conditioning
Wrist
aspect.
locks.
Yes, training your heart, heart rate training is more than just going hard and fast. This is another new thing I realized as I took a special certification on it's called 8 Weeks Out by Joel Jameson.
Mhm.
He actually worked with a lot of MMA athletes, so he's like the guru.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
His
for
course was amazing. I was like, where was this in college?
sure.
And I was at kind of a CrossFit mind of like, let's go hard and fast. There's my conditioning. Well, that's just threshold training.
Right.
And then he had me lactic training, alactic training. So lactic training is like anywhere from 20 to 90 seconds. It's that burn, pushing through that burn. And then also there's like rest periods there. And then there's alactic, meaning no oxygen. So that's just your power. That's 5 to 10 seconds. And then recovery. And that's a big thing I try to put into my training and also my my clients is it's important to have threshold. How high can we sustain a pace for a long time? That's
Yeah.
important. That's a small piece. Think about guard passing. If it takes me a 10-minute match, if it takes me 6 minutes to pass your guard, I need threshold for that.
Yeah.
I need to hit that pace hard. But I pass your guard and I pin you in side control. I need to recover heart rate.
Yeah.
Now it's time for my heart rate to drop and yours to stay high. And,
While
and I need to
I'm
breathe.
still
Yes.
applying pressure.
And John had actually, someone asked a question about like, hey, is like redlining a good thing type of, is kind of one of those questions. And John he reinforced what I already knew. And I was like, damn, I'm so glad I'm like kind of realizing catching on is, going hard, but technical rhythm, and recover your heart rate.
Yeah.
Get that heart rate back down. In my athletes like Maddie, that is super important. Her heart rate and cover rate, like it's 5-minute rounds. You need to recover that heart rate in that minute that you have. You have 60 seconds to go from zone 5, 95% output, and get it back down to zone 2 so that you go into this next round not gassed. So a big thing missing from a lot of strength and conditioning programs is heart rate recovery. And so I'll have you guys send me that screenshot. I want to see it.
I would say the psychological aspect of that
Yeah.
that athletes don't realize is when your heart rate's that high,
Mhm.
you can't make decisions now at the rate that you're used to.
Right.
You're unable to access that information as quickly because all your senses have been narrowed
Right.
because you're now like when your heart rate gets too high, you're accessing your lizard brain at
Kind of
that
that
point.
hormone,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're in that fight or flight. And then that kind of circles back to what we were talking about earlier. It's not so much that if you're not training that, you're like, oh my God, my heart rate's high. What's your perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tired, but are they more tired?
Yeah.
Ah,
And that's a lot of times that can help you bring you down. Like, okay.
right. Bring it
I'm
down.
good,
Breathe through
good.
your nose. In Marigali, at Marigali, Nicholas Marigali is a teacher at Henzo Gracie's in the gi. And he's real big on us with the breathing. He, like some of us, we start sparring. He goes, I want to see you guys all breathing out of your nose. You need to control that pace. And him and
Yeah.
Gordon Ryan are very much pace builders.
Yep.
And they outlast their opponents. And he actually he brought up one of his opponents. He goes, the reason I beat him is because my pace. And I was breathing out my nose. And he gassed. And that's when I won it.
Working. Yep.
I was like, damn.
What do you, looking back now at this point as a female doing this,
Mhm.
I know we talked about last night, like I have a lot of ladies in the class, which
Yeah.
is awesome.
You do. And that speaks a lot to how you are as a coach and the environment you're cultivating there, that women feel safe to train at your academy.
We try to
Yeah.
not be creepy and not
Yeah.
be smelly.
Yeah, that's all we
about
want.
it.
All right, that's
Yeah,
all we want.
We're not
And
going to DM
apparently-
you. Thanks for the round, bro.
Well,
You know?
apparently that's very hard for a lot of these other academies to catch on to, right? So that
Don't be
speaks
creepy.
a lot. Yeah,
Be hygienic.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things about getting other women in, I know that you are getting taught to by people that maybe haven't done jiu-jitsu and want to get
Mhm.
jiu-jitsu. From your perspective as a coach, individual, and somebody that does this, have you seen from women specifically an issue with getting into it because of like past trauma issues?
Oh yeah.
And how would you talk them through or prepare them for
Ooh.
you're going to train and you're going to be in close proximity to some dudes. They may not be your partner when you start.
Yeah.
They may not be your partner for a whole week, but at some point, not only will they be your partner, but if we're really doing this for self-defense, they need to be your partner.
They do.
Because we have to overpower this thing that says, I can't do this with men. You know, I want to do self-defense, but I want to train with women.
Yeah.
Well, who are you worried about attacking you, a woman or a man? Well, man. So why
Right.
can't we do it with men? Well, men make me feel uncomfortable. So we
Yes,
have to
that
inoculate
cycle.
ourselves to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the getting started part
Yes.
is very daunting.
Oh my God. You're exactly right. And some like I feel like I don't know the perfect answer.
This is my wife's question, by the way. She
Oh, no
she
way.
gives the best
That's
questions.
great.
I said, hey, what's a good question like for on behalf of women if
Yeah.
I've got you, you know?
Like what would I basically the question is like what would I tell a woman trying to get started who maybe there's some sexual trauma there, something
Just
like
like
that,
sometimes the physical presence of a man just makes
Yes.
you feel like
and you run in all these
this
men.
is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the first advice I would say is one step at a time. It's very important to fill out the environment and like make sure trust is built on your end and the your school owner's end. And I would kind of tell them to like make sure you're comfortable at the school.
Yeah.
Go in and make sure you feel respected and no one creeps you out, and make sure that you're comfortable. I think it's very important to fill out the environment, and also one thing at a time. If you don't want to train with men at first, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't train with women. Sit out around. Do that. But there does need to be a point where you train with men that you trust, and it's okay because you need to work on breathing. And you need and to that point, it's great. Training with men makes you way more technical as a woman.
Yeah.
because
You have to do everything right.
I can't bench press Brad off. I can't. I got to frame properly.
Probably can, bro.
I don't know. I got to frame properly, like so it'll help. And also you realize how strong men are. Especially I feel this in wrestling. When I wrestle women, it's so different. But with some of the guys, I'm like, oh, it's not that easy to pull you around.
And even
yeah.
there's a spectrum with women, but there's a spectrum with guys too. Like
Yeah.
there's some dudes where you talk about like the back muscles.
Mhm.
You go grapple someone, you like
They don't
tie up with them,
move.
and you go, Oh, well, that feels different.
Yeah, that
And
feels
then
like
some dudes, you're like, oh, this guy feels like
that feels
a
like a brick
this
wall.
guy feels like a sack full of like cottage cheese. Yeah,
Yes. And
different.
to that end, I guess the advice is like one step at a time and cultivate trust. Part of it, it's men's responsibility to help keep us safe.
100%.
But it's also our responsibility as well to reciprocate that back and work on ourselves. And you can't keep victimizing yourself and like, he's stronger and this and that. Like you just got to take responsibility. And actually this is a benefit to us.
I think it is
To
also
be
important
technical.
that women, I think when women think self-defense or they think about having to go train, they're thinking, what do they think? They're thinking like a heavyweight UFC guy, like a 6'5", 300-pound
They
football
just don't know what they
player.
don't know.
And you go like, well, yeah, those people exist.
Mhm.
But like if we're going by FBI statistics, guys that attack
Mhm.
women, we're talking 5'7", 170.
Yeah. Most of
So
them
I
are
think you're gonna be
untrained men.
okay.
Yeah, that's another to that point. When we're teaching women self-defense and in martial arts, we hope, we hope if you're ever the people out there committing these crimes, like horrible things like rape and sexual assault, unfortunately, it is men most of the times, and it's usually untrained men that do not have martial arts training. A lot of it is emotional problems, drug problems, all kinds of things there. And so the men in this training room, all of the skills. So like even if you're just getting your ass kicked in training, like these aren't the types of dudes that are going to be potentially like in a sexual assault or attack you. They're not going to be skilled, right? So I think that's
You're
important
training
to bring
yourself
yourself
for
to
like
that.
if I can handle a trained
Yeah.
person who's this size,
That's a win for me. Yeah.
then man, I'm doing good.
Yeah, I did a mount round with like this guy had to be like 220 the other day.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and
I know what that feels like.
Yeah, I was just like, man, then he's trained. I'm like, man, I can control this. Like, that's actually a win for me. Like, did I stay mounted? No. Did he escape every time? No. So my thing was like, how long can I transition and keep this guy like on the defense before he gets his guard back? And if I can do that to a trained man, there's probably like a 70-pound weight difference. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine against if I had to, God forbid.
This guy who probably doesn't work out, probably
guy
doesn't
did work
get
out,
good rest.
Yeah.
Good, can't do it to a guy that's on drugs, like
Right.
all those things.
You're gonna be just fine.
You're
on the street.
way ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and also understanding with women, like you're gonna get more confident. You're gonna get stronger because of this, and and not only that, but the people you meet, man. That's another big benefit of jujitsu. When I got in jujitsu, it was for self-defense. I was like, man, I want to learn how to defend myself, and I saw how powerful jujitsu was. I never really thought about the community or the people I'd meet along the way. It was all kind of self-preservation type of thing, and I was interested in competing. But now, like I'm a competitor, but damn, it's really about the people.
Dude, we know like even us meeting each other, and then people we've made friends with. You're real good friends with Jason at the gym, and you're friends with Will, and all this stuff. It's so cool how you're really networking with a very diverse group of people.
Yeah.
But also has a very like common interest, or at the very least,
Right.
if there's you never see, I don't see outside of like Gordon doing stuff, I don't see a lot of people at jujitsu gyms having political conversations,
Right.
and religious
That's a cool
conversations,
thing, yeah.
and not that they don't happen, but in a way that is like argumentative.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, no, I get what you're saying, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we should be sending these guys money either, but
Right.
we got to do this too, right? So
That's
it's like, yeah,
cool.
that's cool. I think
Yeah.
it teaches you how to handle different types of people.
Yes. Yeah.
Because and I think you do it in a more respectful way, because you
Mhm.
understand you're in a room with a
Mhm.
dude that knows how to take you down and
Right.
choke you. So it's what's missing like online, which I
Yeah.
can say whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fight, but I'm going to tell you that you suck and you don't
Right.
know how to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you tap to that? You
Mm-hmm.
loser.
Yeah.
In real life, what's that?
It helps. Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Get punched in the face
that
for that.
shit?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the thing with social media now, right? Like keyboard warriors, it's so funny. I just tell myself with a keyboard warrior, like they're either fat, out of shape, they're fat, they're
It's like
ugly.
it's both.
Yeah. Fat, ugly, or you're broke. And you could be one or you could be all three. You could be good looking, but you're broke, and that's why you're an online hater, is what I'm trying to say. Or you could be all three. But all online haters are one of those three.
What do we,
Or they're
what do we
unhappy
win?
or
What if we win if we're all three?
I mean, I guess you're an incel. Dang, we were talking about something. Oh yeah, with to that end, like there's people from all different backgrounds and diversities, and it helps us become more tolerant of people, because we should. Like humanity without people is like, imagine the world with just you in it. It sucks. And sometimes as much as I
Boring.
say I hate people, I get annoyed by people. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
people are everything,
Yeah.
right? Like, where would I be without people? I'd be alone on earth, I guess. So to be more tolerant of different races and different backgrounds and different political views and religions, and to sit here on the mat and have this common interest and treat each other with respect is so huge. It helps all of us grow, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Shoot, that's a good way to end.
I know, right? That's kind of a good wrap
That's a
up.
good way to
Yeah,
wrap
heck
that
yeah.
up, yeah. So, ladies class tonight.
Ladies class tonight, wrestling.
Sweet.
Wrestling.
So if anybody wants to ask questions about new strength nutrition, like number one, they can comment on this, tag you, whatever.
Mhm.
But is there a way like to reach out? Are you taking clients right now? Are you doing
Mhm.
consultations? How could people reach you for this?
Yes, thank you for my little plug.
Got you, homie.
Shout out Gaidama, by the way, whole fit. So to reach me, you can find me on Instagram, Jordan Patrick Fitness. I have a website, jordanpatrickfitness.com. You can learn a lot about me and reach out through me. As far as contacting me, website's probably the best. My Google phone number is on there. And also, if you just want to check out what I do, I have my client transformations on there. I have a free jujitsu strength and conditioning template. It's a
Dang.
4-day split, and it has videos and everything. It's a PDF. Just put in your email, and you'll have like what is a base? It's not cookie cutter. But it's not too hard.
Nice.
But it's like, here's what we need as a jiu-jitsu athlete to get started. So if you just want to have a free program with some videos and kind of know where to get started, go there. I have free meal plan templates for men and women. I think I have a fast food cheat sheet. I am taking clients. I'm getting full. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you reach out to me, I might take a minute to get back to you, but that's only because, not because I'm trying to be that way. It's more like a lot of my time is invested in my current clients. And you know this, I do a lot of client communication, checking form and planning cuts and nutrition and meal plans. So the only reason it might take me a minute to get back is, just waiting list type of stuff. But other than that, you know where to reach me.
Well, I like I said, it was cool to kind of talk about this because that was a really big deal for me. I know my wife is happy that like number one, I look better.
Yeah.
All my friends, hey man, you look like you're in such better shape. You look
love that.
stronger. You look more lean,
good.
everything.
You
But
look
I'm
amazing.
bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a really big deal because it made me. You shouldn't take your health for granted. You shouldn't
Right.
take your physical fitness for granted.
Yeah.
When my wife was sick, obviously, it's like health became
Yeah.
the only focus.
Yeah.
So like being able to go through that and get more physically healthy and doing the journaling myself and
Yeah.
getting some more mentally healthy and everything, I think you were like a really big part of that for me. So I really
Oh,
appreciate
thank you.
that.
Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
big
And
deal.
that's a good like perspective shift, right? Like, we work out not because we have to, or if we're just
I get to do this.
Yeah, I get to. I'm not only working out because I don't want to get fat or whatever. It's me working out, at least for me, because I have a spiritual component, is like kind of my gratitude to God for giving me this able body. Like, thank you for like, I could have been born with a disability, or I could have cancer, or I could have something, but I don't. And so me working out, like, of course I do it for the other reasons, but it's like, thank you so much. I don't want to take my body for granted and let myself go. So I'm going to show God my appreciation and myself that like I have this able body, right? We get to.
I get to.
Yeah, we get
Yeah.
to.
Well, you
Shoot.
get to go teach some class.
I know. I get to go teach class, and I got a private, right? 5:30.
All right, homie. Let's
Cool.
go.
Yes.